Hello and happy almost Thanksgiving. We are about
It's coming.
8 days away,
Yep.
so it's getting real here with all of our renovations and things.
Yeah.
It's kind of a deadline in our minds. Like we got to have some stuff done because we have people coming for Thanksgiving. So hope you are looking forward to it as well. We have just been talking quite a bit, honestly, some different things in our family and in people's lives of just changes. And so we were thinking of talking about that today, just the way that things can tend to ramp down, but you and I were saying it's not the way it is at all. The Lord has purpose and plans.
Yeah, we live our lives in seasons. Some people say chapters, either is applicable. But I think you realize that more as you get older, that you look back and realize, okay, that was a season in my life when that was happening. Those were my interests. That's what I was involved in. Then it transitioned into, we just look at our lives. We're single, we're young, we're stupid sometimes. And then we fall in love, we get married. Then we have kids. Then we move on, vocational aspects of our lives, and those things transition too. And we were just talking and thinking about the fact that I've been around long enough that a lot of the wonderful people that have followed our ministry through the years are now my age, some older, some younger, but, in the later season of their life. And I was realizing that, in fact, I was having coffee this morning with a minister friend of mine who we get together about every 2 weeks, just fellowship, and he pastored for many years, and he retired probably a little over a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. And he just is dealing with, kind of adjusting to retirement.
Yeah.
You don't ever retire from ministry, but vocationally you retire from being a pastor or perhaps being a missionary or something like that. And he's just kind of dealing with that transition, going through it. So it's a real thing. We were talking earlier, I remember reading a study years ago, and I don't remember by who, I don't think it was a Christian study, which is fine. It was just some psychologists had interviewed a bunch of older people, in fact, people in senior care facilities, independent, assisted, so forth. And one of the questions was, what is the most difficult aspect of living in this season of your life? And almost to the person, it was the feeling of I'm not significant anymore. Because a lot of those people had been doctors, lawyers, professionals, laborers, teachers, housewives, moms, all these things where they've devoted their whole life to certain challenges and activities, and now that's all behind them. And it's a very real thing. And I was sharing with my pastor friend, I said, I understand that. I went through that myself a number of years ago, probably maybe 20 years ago now, when I realized that our concerts, they didn't draw the number of people they used to draw. My record sales didn't sell like they used to. They weren't playing my music on the radio so much anymore. All those indicators that were, and I never sought for those things, but they're indicators that you really can't ignore. They're just in your face that, here's where you are. Here's a moment of success here, and all of a sudden that's all kind of going away. And I remember thinking at one point, I just thought, I don't know if I said it out loud, but I remember thinking very clearly, am I just one more old guy on the downhill side of life? Is this how it ends up? Kind of like Roy Rogers and at the end of his program, Happy Trails to You until we meet again. And I was reading through a devotional that year, and it's one of my favorites, Charles Spurgeon's Morning and Evening. And right when I was thinking about these things, processing, I wouldn't say depressed, but kind of sadly concerned. It just seemed like, man, I'm just so much that was so important or so big or so whatever is just kind of all going away. And one particular morning I read that devotional, and Charles Spurgeon wrote this. He said, when the children of Israel marched through the desert, the Levites marched out front. And he said, many of us in our youthful exuberance once marched at the front and won many souls to Christ, but in our latter years he calls us to a more important place, requiring more integrity, more commitment, and he moves us to the rear. And we become as the tribe of Dan. And he said the job of the Danites was to pick up the wounded and the weary and the disenfranchised. The moment I read that, I went, oh, that's me. That's where I am. Now, I didn't know exactly what that meant or how that translated, but there was just this inner sense of that is exactly what's happening to me. Well, within a week or two, I remember I was ministering in a little church up in the mountains of Arizona. I think it was in Payson, Arizona. About 50 people showed up, and that's fine. I'm going to do what I do no matter who shows up. But I remember kind of thinking, wow, you used to do concerts in Madison Square Garden or big arenas or big venues all over, and now I'm in 50 people in a little mountain church. At the end of the service, the concert, this lady, who I guess was probably in about her 60s, came up to me with an older gentleman in his 80s. I always remember he had a nice black suit on, white shirt, red tie. He was crying. She said, "This is Daddy." Said he's gone to this church all his life. He's heard every sermon. He's heard every evangelist. He's always here. And we always ask him at the end of every service, "Daddy, do you want to give your life to Jesus?" He would go, "No."
Wow.
Which you always kind of wonder, why did he keep coming? But he did. But the answer was always no. She said, tonight at the end of your presentation, he turned to me and said, "Do you think if I go down there, that man would pray with me to receive Christ?" The next night, as if that wasn't enough, how it affected him obviously was great. He gave his life to Jesus, but how it affected me was equally significant, because it was like God was saying, "See, now you're qualified to get this guy."
Yeah.
All that other stuff, those crowds, that's just training. That's just preparation. Boy, if we could get that perspective, because so much of the world has bled into the church and our Christian experience. Bigger is better, a numerical success equals spiritual success, climb the ladder, and all of those are very, very peripheral issues at best. I remember David Wilkerson saying to me one day, who I think was one of the great soul winners of the 20th century. He said, "I feel like God just impressed upon me last night in prayer and said, 'David, I'm more interested in winning all of you than I am in you winning all the world.'" And I just thought, man, because we're so taught, again, it's not wrong, but share your faith, tell everybody, busy, activity. But God's going, no. I want you first. I want all of you. The rest will take care of itself if I've got all of you. Yeah. So we see a lot of these things from a very, or we deal with a lot of these things from a very wrong perspective. We don't see the purity of his teaching in Scripture. Now there's an old gospel song that says, "Little is much when God is in it. Labor not for wealth or fame. There's a crown and you can win it if you go in Jesus' name." And so I just realized very clearly in that particular service, and the next night it was like an exclamation point by God, because the exact same thing happened. Ministered in a little church, a gentleman in his 80s came down, "Would you pray for me to receive Christ?" It was like God was saying, "See, have you got it?"
Yeah.
All of that other stuff, training, preparation, the highest highs, the lowest lows, everything that I take you through and put you, that's just preparation. He is never about getting us to some pinnacle of success. There, you've arrived. So we say that to encourage you, because so many people as they get a little older, they feel like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. You're supposed to pray, you're supposed to love people, you're supposed to share the gospel. To how many is a matter of indifference.
Right.
Just be available to the Lord. He is not impressed. Yeah. We're so impressed with things that God isn't the least bit impressed about.
Yeah. Well, and in my age category, a lot of women especially, but probably both moms and dads, are feeling the same way just with their kids going off and becoming adults. And I have this conversation a lot, like, I don't know what to do now. I'm not raising my kids anymore, Right. And just this morning I was listening to somebody, I don't even know who it was on Focused on the Family, but she wrote a book to empty nesters and how to engage with your adult children and how to still be very involved in their lives. And she said, we can do 3 things. We can love them. We can always love them. We can always pray for them. And we can always listen to them. Yeah. And she said she has many kids, apparently, because she talked about several different kids. And she said, not all of them are following the Lord. And She said, I want them to. Obviously, I pray for them. But she said, I can still listen to them, and we have open dialogue, and I love them, and there's purpose in that too.
Yeah.
So at every age and every season, you can feel these things, but each one of us has purpose, and God is doing great things even in the quiet moments.
Yeah. Well, and the only thing, and I told my friend that this morning, not that he didn't know, but sometimes it's just good to hear things to share, to reinforce. The only thing we really have any control over in our lives, and even that is, in a sense, when you factor in God's sovereignty, He's in control of everything. But if I can say, if there's anything we have any control over all, it's just our relationship with the Lord.
Yep.
And if our relationship with the Lord is right, if we are living in humble obedience to the Lord, then wherever we are is where He has us. It is not ours to decide, well, this doesn't seem as important, this is not as successful, this is not as significant. That's not our business. Our business is to live for Jesus and to obey Him and to serve Him, to worship Him. If we're doing that, wherever we are is where He has us. I love what Oswald Chambers says. Don't complain you're of no use where you are, because you're certainly of no use where you're not. I just love that. Because we do that
Practical.
a lot of times. I'm just not being used like I think it. No.
Yeah.
Are you living for the Lord? Does He have your life in His arms? Is He guiding you? Then wherever you are is where He has you. And there should be as much fulfillment in that as if, by the world standards, we say, oh boy, He's given me a large platform. Even, not to get off track too much, but I remember years ago when the prayer of Jabez was out. First it was out in a book, then it was out in a book for men, then the prayer of Jabez for women, then the prayer of Jabez for teenagers, then the prayer of Jabez for three-legged dogs. It was
one verse.
Yeah, it was a marketing, just a real exhibition. I don't think that prayer was ever intended to be a mantra for all of us to chant week after week with the expectation. And the expectation generally was, extend my tent pegs, give me more influence, give me bigger. That's okay in one sense, Lord, use me to the fullest, but it really isn't ours to dictate to the Lord how big a territory we want to possess, or it's the little things. And Jesus teaches that. First, you got to be faithful with the little thing. That's where the test is.
Yeah. I mean, that's the difference between a steward and an owner, right? I mean, we steward everything. If we hold our lives and everything that He gives us, relationships, time, money, all of it like this, it's yours, Lord. It just gets to flow through me.
Yeah, right.
Then it's not ours to say, well,
right,
this is ours.
Right.
And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that prayer.
No, not at all.
But it's not necessarily, it's not our tent.
No.
It's not our money. It's not our
right.
finances. It's our time, it's His.
Yeah, which in the realization of that should bring great peace.
Yes.
Because ours is just to steward His blessings, not to own them, not to... could I handle the responsibilities of administrating the blessings of God? I steward them, but to say, well, this is mine, okay, I'm going to do this with it. And we got a lot of people in ministry that do that. It's mine, mine, mine. It's my kingdom. It's my ministry. It's my money. No, it's not. Mm-hmm. We have... it's become, I think, my favorite verse, Galatians 2:20. In recent months, I am crucified with Christ. Nevertheless I live, yet not I, but Christ that lives in me. And the life that I now live, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave Himself up for me. Boy, that just, in that one verse, it levels the playing field. It tells us all we need to know about serving Christ.
Yeah.
If ever we get frustrated that, well, it's mine, no. I'm crucified with Christ. I'm a dead man. You can't hurt a dead man. Dead men don't have opinions. That doesn't mean we're just lay back and float. Right. But I mean, spiritually, we have died to ourselves, and we are now alive in Christ, and we live by faith, and we keep that perspective of He gave Himself. There's no greater gift that can be given than what He has already done for us. So we live with that gratitude. And it's not ours to determine, well, I want more, I want bigger, I want more influence, I should be more significant. Yeah. Just live for Jesus. He'll put you where He wants.
That's right.
And sometimes it won't be where you want, but He's always up to something.
And being faithful where you are.
Yes,
Bloom where you're planted.
that's right.
Hope you have a great day.
Yep.
We'll see you next time.